Good. Okay, so I'm going to skip past the first few slides. Next week is the last in our series, and Marek primarily will focus on sharing our perspectives on organization, design, structure, other things you need to think about to nail your organization. Marketing is obviously a key lever for effectiveness, and you can see fast results with adjustments in marketing. It's one of the fastest levers you can pull. And I'm going to skip these questions. So there's a famous quote by the guy who started a department store. It was the forerunner of Macy's in New York, which is a very famous department store in New York, who said, half the money I spend on advertising is wasted, but the problem is I don't know which half. And that is still elusive. It is still elusive to know which half, but less and less so with the advent of digital marketing, because across your digital channels, it's far easier to track interactions, to track conversions than it was with just ads on TV or a poster, where it's really hard to know if somebody's purchased as a direct result. And we're going to play an ad. It's a longish one, but I think it's very good. I hope you'll all agree, and it drives home a message that's really important for us to convey. So,
Hey.
Hey.
You okay?
Yeah. Well.
Hey, love.
Hey, Mom.
How are you guys? How you doing?
Yeah, we're good.
Something wrong?
No, but we've actually got something to tell you. Kate's pregnant.
Oh, I'm joking.
You're gonna be a grandma.
Oh my God. How does it feel?
I'm scared, Mom.
Why are you scared?
About it all, you know. The nights, the responsibility, like, we're gonna need a bigger place.
Help with all that.
I know, bless you, you're so sweet. I've got this feeling that we're gonna have a daughter, just as stubborn as her mum.
Well, hopefully not. The family's knows.
Now that's a legacy she might have to live with. She might be the reason we tied a knot.
What if I don't do good in class?
I just want to say and do the right things, you know? I want to see the world with her. I'll also be happy staying home, doing nothing, letting her be a kid.
Are you awake?
Number 32.
Thank you.
I want to see her fall in love. But I also know what that means. And I know she's gonna bend the rules just like I did. And one day, I'll have to let her go. I'm excited to hear what she learns about the world, herself, what she adores, what she hates. I hope she likes the name we give her.
Have you thought of any?
It all depends. We like now.
Looks better. And welcome Sarah as well. And we've got Andy.
Hi, Sarah and Andy. So we were just, I don't know, when you joined, we were playing an ad for the new Volvo. And for those of you that were able to watch the whole ad, what struck you about it?
There was almost no kind of brand or product in it at all. It was almost incidental.
Yes. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting how, 'cause I think they've said for life as their brand before, but they gave their tagline an entirely different meaning. It's like Nike came up with a different way of saying just do it, or different way of making it have a meaning.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but Volvo, what it means is actually I roll, and you probably know that already. And what I take from this ad, I haven't seen this ad before, is that it's life rolls on. And so they've sort of accidentally or purposefully lived up to that Volvo I roll with this ad. That's my take from it.
Okay. I think what they were, and any other observations, thoughts?
I just think it's incredible how, I mean, it's clearly a long ad, right? So it's, it's not your classic 30-second one, but it's incredible how emotive they've been prepared to make it.
Yeah, it's had rave reviews. It's broken all the rules because it's gone viral on Instagram where you would expect an ad to be like a few seconds. But I think the main point is how purpose focused it is. It's really all about safety, which is Volvo's mission, and to your point, Dave, they didn't need to show the cup holder or the head-up display or any of the other, no doubt, incredible technical innovations at all. The car hardly features in the ad at all. But the message of Volvo being, the number one choice for safety is, gets across very well. And allegedly, a lot of people are saying, I'm now reconsidering buying a Volvo just as a direct result of that ad. But I guess the main takeaway is that in marketing, it's all too easy for us to be focused on the attributes of our product and service, and not forget about, but I guess deprioritize the why we're in business and what our purpose is, what our mission is. And if we can, within marketing, but across the whole business, sort of rebalance from time to time and just reconsider, why are we in business and how are we getting that message across to our customers, and even more importantly to our prospects, to our target audience. So a few considerations for marketing has to start with what are your objectives for marketing, and once you've nailed those, then how do you plan, how do you execute, and how do you measure? And shamelessly, we've taken from the B2B Institute, because it's really well done, the B2B effectiveness ladder, and it is B2B, and we do focus more on B2B, or our customers tend to be more B2B focused, but equally this applies to B2C. And the marketing ladder starts with kind of your short-term actions to trigger a response, to trigger a sale, all the way through to your longer term initiatives, like that Volvo ad we just saw, which build the brand and extol the virtues of the why, the why we're in business, why we serve you. And it's all too often that we see in organizations the focus around one and two, everyone collapsing around, how are we going to send a marketing email out to just close some more deals this month? It's very easy with ever increasing targets to collapse around numbers 1 and 2 and deprioritize the others. But the others are equally important, and perhaps even more important for long-term sustainable profitability. Any thoughts on that before we move on? And then in terms of the role of the marketing function, this is really important to spend a little bit of time considering periodically, again, because oftentimes marketing can be very tactical, whereas in fact, it has a really crucial role, in championing purpose. And while leadership has to be accountable there, marketing can be the catalyst. It can drive the whole effort around championing purpose, both internally and externally. Clearly, it's accountable for communicating purpose, but not by itself. That has to be, that weight has to be carried or shared by leadership and by sales. Generating leads, this is not clear cut. In some organizations, we see the sales department have a very well-oiled lead generation machinery, where marketing plays a rather minimal role, and that can be okay. And in other organizations, marketing takes the lead and assumes really all responsibility for generating leads until they're qualified and can be handed over to sales. And how you structure this within your own organization, there's no right or wrong here. It depends on who you've got in the building, your organization structure, the relative team strengths. But what's crucial is that you are consistently generating leads and that you're sharing that burden across sales and marketing. And then other activities, of which there's a whole host, from advertising to producing short thought leadership to webinars. Marketing's accountable, but can't do it on its own, and sales and other departments need to obviously provide input. So again, we'd counsel you to think about what the role of marketing in your organization is, to be pragmatic about what it can do and how you might need to reshape or invest in marketing so that it can address effectively all stages on that effectiveness ladder that we just saw. Any thoughts, questions there before we move on? Okay. Marketing plans. When we ask our clients to share with us their marketing plans, they're invariably minimalist, tactical, and missing key elements. This looks very obvious, but it's very rare that we see a marketing plan effectively have all these components. So it has to start with the target audience and what their pain is. Against that pain or against that opportunity, what then is our value proposition? And again, it's fairly rare that we see when we go into organizations the value proposition being expertly crafted in a way that everyone can communicate consistently and powerfully. And sometimes it exists within sales and doesn't get shared with marketing. So marketing are running blind when they're creating their messages. And sometimes it's just not there at all. So we can't stress highly enough how critically important it is to nail the value proposition. Most importantly, because you can have a very different price conversation if you're able to articulate your value to your customers in a very compelling way. Then it's about how do we get that message about our value proposition across to our target audience through a variety of channels in the most appropriate way. What's our activity look like? Again, with that ladder in mind, what are we going to do very tactically on a week-by-week basis? What are our more strategic goals to get the message about our purpose across convincingly? We see marketing plans that aren't costed, so there's a bunch of activity, but there's no spend against them. And if you don't have spend against them, it's impossible to have an ROI discussion. But even if you do have spend against your activities, most organizations that we work with don't effectively think about return on investment. And when you do think about return on investment, it's not just the cost of the ad or the cost of your lead generation support. It's got to be the cost of your whole marketing department that you factor in. And some organizations we see are frankly top heavy in marketing. Most are underinvested, but a few are top heavy. And they arguably don't take into account the cost of their rather expensive marketing team. So any thoughts there from across your organizations around marketing plans? What's worked well for you? If you don't have brilliant marketing plans, what stands in the way?
One thing just to throw in, if I may, Andy, I was with an IT based business this week, and they were talking very much about the value proposition part. There's a few things that came out of that which I thought, you know, they really took home as critical to them being able to market effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And one was around really, and this was very much in tandem with the sales team, is making sure that they're absolutely crystal clear about the features, advantages, and benefits of the product in that value proposition.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, making sure that the absolute, if you like, commercial benefit
Mm-hmm.
to the end customer is absolutely crystal clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or as I mean, there may be some softer benefits, but the most tangible benefits are really, really clear.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that you can really draw a straight line between accessing this product and what it's going to do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third thing was about the role of marketing there to actually make sure the salespeople, not only in designing those parts of the value prop or being clear, were also really clear on how to actually go to market with this product.
Yeah.
You know, almost how do you translate that value prop then in front of a customer? The moment of truth when you're across a table or in a Teams meeting. So just bringing that value prop piece to, you know, it's critical, because if that's not strong, no matter how well you do the other stuff, you're just not landing it as cleanly.
Yeah, no, indeed, indeed.
Andy, may I ask a question? It's Sarah.
Hi, Sarah. Of course, by all means.
We're putting together our marketing plan for next year. It's all, we've got the bones of it together, and
Yes.
we're looking at spend. A question I quite often get asked is, what will be my return on investment on this
Yeah.
spend? How
Yes.
do I ratify that? Because obviously, there's going to be they're not going to the customer's not going to potentially go, oh, I saw this LinkedIn ad and I really liked it. So how do I kind of prove return on investment around a marketing piece of
Yeah.
work?
So bear with me, because we're going to come on to that.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Don't be sorry, because it's such a great question, and you know, it is a tricky one, but there are things that can be done and should be done. So just bear with me on that particular question, Sarah. And I hope otherwise the thinking around the marketing planning makes sense to you and Keenan.
Yeah, all good. Thank you.
Cool. Any other thoughts before we move on? So then, moving from plan to execution. And I've just taken sort of three elements of the ladder here with some selected examples. This is not an exhaustive list by any means of what a typical organization should do, could do. But the point I want to make is that again, we don't often see the plans for the next quarter or the next 6 months or the next year laid out in a way that enables and almost forces consistent activity. What we see all too often is knee-jerk. Our sales are down here, or the CEO comes in and has seen something on LinkedIn and says, why the hell aren't we doing a massive campaign on LinkedIn? And then everyone collapses around and does something for 3 months and then leaves it. These almost all of these require consistent nurturing over an extended period of time to have any desired effect. So again, we would counsel setting out over the next 12 months an activity schedule and really being consistent with the execution of it. Obviously, always course correcting. If you're not seeing the desired results, absolutely fine to drop something, but better still to tweak and adjust so that you are seeing a better return. And now it's so easy with things like email newsletter campaigns to see who's opening, what percentage are opening, what percentage are clicking, that you can do A/B testing and really see what works and continuously refine. Again, good practice is to have a balanced focus between the short-term initiatives that will hopefully elicit an immediate picking up of the phone. You know, can I buy your product or your service? Through to building your brand and really getting the message across about the why you're in business. And any thoughts there? Okay, and then just in terms of effectiveness and to your point, Sarah, some of these initiatives it's very clear. So it's open rates, it's click-through rates, it's how many people are engaging on my LinkedIn post or engaging with it, how many people are visiting my website, how many people are downloading some thought leadership from my website, and then tracking that through ideally to a sale. So keeping tabs on the 20 people who downloaded your brochure, what have they then done with it? Have we followed up? Have sales followed up effectively within 24 hours of a brochure download? And then whilst that sometimes gets measured and gets acted on, what doesn't often get measured is whether 3 months later that person bought something as a result of their downloading the brochure 3 months previously. So keeping tabs on that, and CRM systems can be very helpful there. Tracking, how many marketing qualified leads then get converted as they get handed over to sales into sales qualified leads, what the cost per lead is. All of that can be measured quite easily. Where it gets more difficult is as you go up the ladder to the longer term initiatives, where an ad like that Volvo ad that we saw, which has been viewed by millions of people, it's not completely clear which sales have resulted from a person viewing that ad. But there are things that one should measure. Customer satisfaction through the Net Promoter Score, for example, or lifetime customer value. So how are you doing with retention? Are your customers continuing to buy from you? And yes, that's mostly a function of the level of service you provide, but linked to that is everything wrapped around your product and your service, the why you're in business, the loyalty that fosters, and your market share. So Sarah, ask the question again, and between the BFG team, we'll do our very best to, as directly as possible, address.
So the question that I get when I put down any spend around marketing, such as we're going to pick attending an event or signing up to be part of an association, is what will my return on investment be?
Right.
How do I prove that as part of my marketing plan? So if I want to spend 40 grand on a product launch,
Yeah.
how will I, obviously that's a bad example, 40 grand on attending a show and having a
Yes.
stand in the show. How do I
Yes.
prove the sale of that?
Yes.
Or again, how do I prove that people are looking at our LinkedIn and then going to buy products?
Yes. So what's tricky in your particular instance, because I happen to know your particular case, is that you're doing a lot of this activity for the very first time, and with a launch, what you will do with a launch, therefore, it is very hard. It's almost impossible for you to say upfront that if I spend 10 grand, I'm going to get 50 grand of return. It's impossible for you to say that. What you will do is you'll keep track of everyone that you interacted with. You'll put them into Salesforce. You'll follow up with them. After 3, 6, 9 months, you'll go back to your list of people that you interacted with at the event, and you'll see who bought from you, and you'll be able to retrospectively say, this is what the return was from attending the event. And so the next time you attend an event, it's much easier for you to say, I expect we will get a return of 2x or 5x from our expenditure in this event, because that's what happened last year. And we're going to make some adjustments this time round. We're going to do an even better job of communicating that we're at the event, of enticing people to our stand, etc., etc. So often, if you're doing something for the first time, you just have to take a punt, and it is hard, if not impossible, to claim to know what the return on investment will be. It does get easier as you do the same type of activity over and over again. Wayne and Marek, do you want to build on that at all?
I think the only other way to look at it when you're doing it first time is to set a reasonable target and actually almost reverse engineer it. So say, what would a good return look like? And therefore working back with some assumptions that will be wrong, but you could spend 10 times as long on them and they'll be precisely wrong.
Yeah.
Just work back and go, well, actually, if I want to get a return of, let's say, just a 1-to-1, I literally just want to get, because it's a trial, I just want to be able to cover myself with the spend I've laid out. Then what would I need to generate in terms of business? Therefore, how many leads would I need to generate from it? And therefore, how many people does that need to get in front of to get an actual lead? So almost work backwards through it. And that then you might look at it and go, how likely, going all the way back, almost reverse engineering, am I likely to start? How likely is that activity to actually generate that in the first place? And it may go, well, it's unlikely, or it's, there's going to need to be 5 million people at that conference or at that exhibition. That's not going to happen, right? Okay, so almost reverse engineering it from a target might help you address the question as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you very much. I've got a load of ideas there now. Sorry, I was frantically typing away as you were talking.
The only other thing would be, as Andy suggested, is the more campaigns that you can run and the more that you can automate them through a CRM system like Salesforce, the better. And then you can look back and go, right, well, we did this campaign here, and this is the amount of pipeline we've generated from it. Now, also, not all, if you're in a quite a long sales cycle, not waiting for the actual revenue to drop, but to be able to generate statistics around the size of the pipeline long before it lands, that's also helpful. So you don't then need to drop the revenue, because if your conversion ratios are a certain at a certain level, you already know that from that size of pipeline, you're likely to generate something at a period in the future, at a point in the future. But it's a lot easier if you can track that through, if it's email campaigns or whatever, it's a lot easier if you can track it through Salesforce.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Any other observations on or anything you can share on what works well from a measuring effectiveness perspective?
Just the same as you, really, Andy. I mean, when I've been marketing manager of a couple of businesses, and I think we did have that history whereby you could say this one's going to cost us 20 grand, but last year we won 2 clients worth 30 grand each or something.
Yes.
But certainly that's the way you've got to do it, I think.
Yeah.
So.
And again, what we see very often in organizations is the tracking isn't up to scratch. So and Sarah, I'm sure this won't be the case when you attend an event, but we often see our clients go to events and they come back all enthused. We had the best conversations. They don't follow up. They don't track. So you can create a field in Salesforce, a drop down, which events did your contacts participate in or attend or interact with you in, so you can really keep track. And then if you're tracking it in a field rather than free text, then you can interrogate that field and you can say, run me off 6 months later, run me off a list of all the people that attended event X, and then compare across, compare against sales in the last 6 months and see who bought from you. Very few customers, very few clients of ours have got the discipline to do that, but that's so key, because otherwise the danger is that you spend on an event just because you did it last year, so you're going to stick it into the budget for this year, but you actually don't know what materialized as a result. Any thoughts on near-term steps, having just seen those slides or participated in the discussion, that you can take to enhance marketing effectiveness?
I think just contribute to the discussion, really. I think, it's a case of I don't sit in marketing roles as a rule, apart from those 2 times. But I think that, just by joining up with the marketing team, whether you're in, sales or supply chain or somewhere else, or even saying kind of garner the opinions of other people, I suppose, if one is within sales and marketing, seek opinions of other people, because they might have something to contribute in terms of whether it's customer feedback or supplier feedback or new product development. So therefore, kind of, be open to suggestions from the broader team, really.
Yeah. No, that's great. I think just keeping track and measuring everything you can measure, and again, there's so much scope for most organizations to do a much better job of measuring activity. I think that can make a huge difference. Good. Okay. Well, that wraps that up. Just a reminder to ask us if you'd like to take the BFG grade survey. Very happy to share the link to that for you to help you assess your own sales and marketing effectiveness. Marek, do you want to say a couple of words about next Friday?
Absolutely.
Marek, you're on mute.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll be talking about the sales organizations, so teams, team structures, different roles, pros and cons of various things, and how we think about designing and sizing those teams.
Great, thank you. So it is the last of our autumn series of webinars next Friday, and the recordings are all on YouTube. So if you missed any of the last 12 or 11 plus this one, then please visit our YouTube channel and see the recordings, and chat with us at any time if we can be of any assistance. So have a great weekend all, and thanks so much for joining us.